Hello again, YouTube. Good afternoon, YouTube, as it's afternoon where I am now. So, another movie review for you. I was rather disappointed in this one, actually. I sat down and watched a movie called The Wee Man last night on Netflix. And to be honest, I found it really disappointing to watch. It's basically the biography based on true events type stuff. It's the biography of a gangster whatever, man called Paul Ferris. I've read the second of these biographies, and I've watched a few documentaries about him, like, The Hard Men of Britain and Gangsters and, all this kind of stuff. So when I found out that they made a movie about him, which I didn't even know they had done until I sort of spotted it on Netflix, I was kind of like, wait, there's a movie about this guy, I really want to watch this. Really looking forward to watching it, and part of the reason is because the British film industry does do gangster films really well when they put their mind to it. Okay, there's a whole slew of them that I could name, from films like the original Brighton Rock made in the 1940s, 1950s, all the way up to, Layer Cake and beyond. So we do good films, British gangster films, but we seem to lack, to a certain degree, the subgenre of real gangster films, real life gangster films, biographies. So what I mean is like films like Goodfellas or Donnie Brasco. Which are really good films, and they're based on some really interesting stories. So there I am thinking, hopefully they've done a good job with this one. I sit down and, this Wee Man, I think I put it down as a 4 out of 5 on Netflix when I voted it in on Netflix. And that was me being bloody generous, I'll tell you that now. It's really kind of only worth watching if you've really watched everything else on Netflix, watched all of your DVDs, and there's absolutely nothing on TV barring darts, and you're not a darts fan. It is barely a 6, and that's me being generous again, out of 10. The reason being, it's got some good sequences in it, I'm not going to deny that, and it's got some good acting in it, and that's what pumps it up in a way. It's got a very bit part role played by John Hanahan, who's starting to look like, aging a bit, looking his age, I should say. I don't even know how old he is, but that's beside the point. It's got some fairly well-known British actors in it that appear in it, but to be honest, the acting is all that there really is to the film. There's the storyline is too fractured. It keeps jumping, and I've not got a problem with a film that jumps around, like Highlander or Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. But it's how they do it, that's what I'm kind of getting at here. And it doesn't really jump around with any, with any reason for the jumps, or, so the storyline's too fractured for starters. I don't think it was very well directed, and it's kind of taken it's always difficult when you take a 20-30 year span of someone's life and you condense it into an hour long film, half hour, an hour and a half, 2 hour film, right? I get that, but when you look at to make the comparison, when you look at something like Goodfellas, where they took a 30-year span of Henry Hill's life and they very well made film direction wise, and it's like condensed into an hour and a half long film. That proves that it could be done well, and this wasn't. And I'm left sort of thinking, okay, you caught the highlights of this man's life, like the not even the highlights really, like the most publicised parts of Paul Ferris's life, right? But you didn't really expand more on it. You didn't really give me the what I was hoping for, I suppose, which is where I'm left with the disappointment, because I'm kind of like you. There's so much more. There's so much more to Paul Ferris's life, just the same as there's so much more to Henry Hill's life, right? But at least they managed to tell that in a constructive way with Henry Hill's life in the film The Goodfellas, right? Whereas in this film, it was 1 minute you're talking, it's Paul Ferris as a 20, 30-year-old man, the next minute is Paul Ferris as a 5-year-old kid, then the next minute is Paul Ferris as a 20-year-old man again. They never fully explain some of who the black characters are as well. Like, there's one of the guys that Paul Ferris does time with in prison, this big stocky built white grey-haired bloke who's got a London accent. And you never find out his name, you never find out how they're connected, but he seems to do favours for Paul Ferris, like intimidation of witnesses and that sort of stuff. It just really didn't feel like that good a film. You know, like I say, 6 out of 10, and that's me being really generous here. Not really that great a film. So with that, I'll say goodbye and see you soon.